Starting. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Optibotimus, and you are listening to a live show that is going on currently over on Ustream. It's the ustream.tv/user/Optibotimus. Use that link. You can go to the actual chat room, and you can chat with all of us. I can see you talking in there. Again, it's ustream.tv/user/Optibotimus. Unfortunately, I cannot use my camera on both different platforms. I'm using it here on YouTube and on the Ustream. So if you want to join in and listen to the show live, I'm going to do my best to try and keep up, but it's going to be hard for me to look at comments on things because I have a very special guest coming up. I'm going to call him here in a second. Is Adam Goldberg. If you guys are familiar with ABC's The Goldbergs, it's a TV series that's running right now. Absolutely hilarious TV show. Think Wonder Years, but for the 80s. So if you grew up in the 80s, this is a show that really hits home. The show is based on the real-life exploits of the man that I'm about to call right now. I don't even know if he's probably not even paying attention to the show. He's probably not even watching this. But I'm going to call him up on my phone. I gotta do a what do you call that? Speakerphone. Got a speakerphone thing. So I'm going to call him up right now. We're going to get this going, and I'm going to harass him because he's fun to just mess with. Voice call. Here we go. Everybody get ready. It's ringing. Hopefully you guys are going to be able to hear this all right.
Hello?
Now that's the most obnoxious voice in the entire known universe. Mr. Adam Goldberg, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, sir?
What is up, butthead?
Now that's rude. Why would you... I invite you over to my show and you call me a butthead.
You just called me a butthead a second ago. I was listening live.
Oh, you were! You weren't supposed to be.
Oh, I saw it all.
You saw...
Oh,
you saw the Mountain Dew can and everything.
Everything.
Oh.
Mostly I was just looking at all the toys behind you.
Oh.
That's what I was doing.
Oh, yeah, well, that's my big giant head, and my hair's going crazy. Are you getting a lot of rain where you are right now?
So much.
Oh.
And thunder and lightning. It's actually quite nice.
It really is. I told my wife, I said, I wouldn't mind it if it was one of those things like, because you're from Pennsylvania, correct?
I am. I'm from Philadelphia.
Area. Yeah, and I'm from Michigan, so you and I are both used to weather like this. Everybody else really isn't. And
the actual weather.
This is exactly. And I told my wife, I said, you know what? This might sound sadistic, but I wouldn't mind it if we had like a thunderstorm where I lost power for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that would be cool.
My daughter is 4 and has never seen snow, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing to her. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
How have you not taken her back to like the Philadelphia area when it's been snowing? How do you not do that for Christmas or something?
Because then I have to visit with Beverly, and
oh, come on. Come on. I don't believe, it's there's fiction and there's nonfiction, and I believe that a lot of what we see on TV is a lot of nonfiction, sir.
I would say it's basically toned down, if anything.
That's what that's what I hear. That's what I hear, but I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Believe it.
I don't believe it.
Come in for Thanksgiving, and then you'll believe.
Oh, that's nothing. Now, okay, so we've all seen the show. Everybody knows the show. I'd also like to extend my condolences on you guys not being nominated for any Emmys.
Look, it's a bummer. Here's the thing that's great is that we were even in conversation to begin with.
Oh.
Because I still operate in this world where people said I was going to be canceled in 3 episodes. So I'm just still thrilled to be on the air. We have 50 episodes, and we're doing another 22. So that's all I care about is getting to season 6.
Well, now I mean you're the TV guy, but isn't the ultimate goal by most people in the industry you want to get to syndication, right? That's where like the best comes from, correct?
Yes.
And that's where you can sit back and relax and not have to.
The more you have, the better the syndication package.
Oh.
You want to have, I think nowadays, 80 agents is minimum.
Oh.
And then after that, you want to hit 100, which is solid. And anything like past 120 is fantastic.
Oh. Well, okay. So do you have an ultimate plan that you want to? Where would you be happy?
I would be happy. I mean, once I hit 100, that's a huge accomplishment, especially given that every episode has 2 stories, an A and B story. So if I hit 100 episodes, it means I've told 200 stories about my family, and that's something I'd be very proud of. Now,
I didn't want to make this into an interview, Adam. I just wanted this to be just to be us like hanging out.
By the way, I do want to confirm that we are doing our short circuit episode. All thanks to you.
Oh,
that is all thanks to you.
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm going to move the phone up real close to the thing, and you go ahead and you say that one more time, because I heard it good. I just want to make sure everybody heard it.
So I was looking at some of your reviews, and I think you did like a best of compilation for one particular year, and I noticed you had a Johnny 5, and I totally freaked out. I didn't know it existed, and then I thought, well, if it exists, then I should do an episode about it. It turns out it's basically a custom-made toy.
Right.
So, but you helped me get in touch with where to get it, and we shaped the whole episode around it, and it's already been written. So, very excited to shoot it.
This is okay. So now everybody now heard that this episode that they're going to be able to watch is all because of me. Just saying. Just throwing that out there for everybody. I'm not trying to pat my own back or anything.
And that week will be Optibotimus presents the Goldbergs. That'll help. That's how the title will read.
Wait a minute. What?
I don't know if they'll say yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Of course you are. Of course you are. You just got me so excited that I almost crapped myself. And then you just yanked it away. It's like it was, you're evil. You're an evil man. It was like you handed me this awesome toy and then you yanked it from me. You are a douchebag. That's all there is to it.
Thank you. That's what I'm going for here in the interview.
Oh man. See. Well, I'm excited. I thought that was when you now. Let me give some people some back history.
Sure.
How I actually know you. Now this was you probably don't even remember the story, but this stands out to me as a pretty cool story to tell. I like telling the story. I came across your show. My wife and I obviously grew up in the 80s, so when we saw the show, and I think I've seen it basically described as the Wonder Years, but for the 80s, and that's kind of what I've gone by with that whenever I've talked to anybody. My mom's never seen the show, but that's how I describe it to her.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
So and everybody loves the Wonder Years. I mean, how can you not like the Wonder Years? So I remember watching that like Sunday nights, and then America's Funniest Home Videos would come on. It was that's what we did Sunday nights before we had to go to bed. We watched Wonder Years. So I'm flipping through the channels. I come across your show, and my wife and I instantly love the show. It's hilarious. It hits on all cylinders with us, and we're like, this is it. This is what it was like when we were growing up. And I remember briefly sending a message to you on Twitter. Now, Twitter is one of those weird things where when you talk to somebody who is a celebrity, you're a celebrity. I know you argue that you're not, but it's true.
I would argue I am the farthest thing from a celebrity.
Yeah.
But I would say if there was a celebrity writer, that would probably be Woody Allen or maybe Aaron Sorkin. I think to be a celebrity, you at least have to be recognized somewhere.
Sure.
And I think, but I think what's great is that people are finding the show, and if anything, they know my name is because I think people imagine Sean.
Yes.
When they think of me.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's way cuter than I am.
Oh well, yeah. I've been with this guy in person. I can confirm that Sean is a far more adorable person, or he's a far more adorable Adam than the real Adam. So,
Without a doubt.
so we're sitting there, we're watching the show. I send Adam a tweet, and it went something along the lines of me saying that he needs to do a Transformers episode. And he replied to me. Now, this was the first time that somebody who is, all right, I won't call you a celebrity, but somebody who has a verified Twitter account, somebody who has one of those who actually replied to me. And your reply was something along the lines of that you got a Transformer 1 coming up that I'm going to love, stay tuned, something to that effect.
Correct. Yeah.
And I would imagine that was the Daryl Dawkins episode.
I think, it's funny, at this point I've done a couple of them.
There's been a few Transformers, yeah.
The Daryl Dawkins one, I went all in on Transformers on that one for sure, so it probably was that one.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how I initially basically came in contact with you. And then, thanks to the internet, I discovered this amazing documentary that was being made called Back in Time, that was going through a Kickstarter. It had already gone through one before. It was going through a second one. And the second time, that's when I first discovered it. And I saw it, and I was like, oh, my God, this is amazing. I happened to see that you were attached to it. I might have actually seen it initially from you. I don't remember. But I would bet money that that's probably where it came from, because I don't pay attention to much other stuff. So when I saw you were attached to it, I looked at it. And just to be a part of it, I decided that I was going to donate to the Kickstarter. And then I saw, and I did that once, and then I saw that they upped things, and they had a whole bunch of stuff from you put into it. And like you were giving away, like if you donated, you were giving away one of your GoBots, which, for the love of God, GoBots, we're going to have a talk about your GoBots here too. So that was that, and then there was a autographed script for the I Wrote a Hoverboard episode, which was, again, a phenomenal episode that if you guys haven't seen it, you need to check it out. So I decided to donate a second time, and I sent a message to you again that said that I had to do it again. I saw that this was there. And that's when I felt you actually paid attention to me. And you're like, dude, that was so nice of you. Follow me or whatever it was. I want to send you a private message. And I'm like, okay. So all of a sudden I see that you're following me. I'm following you. Then you decide to tell me that you have some things that you want to send me. And you also wanted to give me the script for that the episode where you and Pops go through the whole death of Optimus Prime. And
yeah, I mean, that came from a place of just seeing your stuff online. Watching a man make a living transforming robots as his job, I was like, this guy, I have to get to know this guy. So that's basically what happened for me. I thank you for donating, and then I saw your link, and I went to it, and that was it. I wanted to be friends with the guy who plays with robots.
That's the thing. I mean, I'm sitting here as I'm talking to you. I'm playing with a little tiny robot right now. That's pretty impressive. But that was basically how it was. So people that are curious, how did you meet Adam Goldberg? That's essentially how it was. It was the magic of the internet, and it was hilarious. I told my wife, and then from there on, then I was like, it was the weirdest thing, because out of nowhere, this total stranger, literally, he didn't believe. I don't know if he didn't believe me or not, but I remember him sending me this message. He's like, so you review toys, what kind of collection do you have, if at all? And that stuck out in my mind, and I took a picture of my room, and out of nowhere, this weird, strange dude, he just completely decides to invite himself over to my house. He's like,
I saw what was going on behind you,
right?
And I'm in. I said I have to see this collection. So it's one of the better ones I've seen ever. So how can I not want to see it?
and fair enough. But then, so that all happens, and then he decides that he's going to be nice and he's going to invite me out to Sony Studios, where his office is, and he wants to give me the things for the Kickstarter in person. So I get there, we're hanging out for a little bit, and he makes it sound like my collection is something spectacular. His office is really impressive, guys. There's some pieces that he has in there that completely blow everything away that I have in my collection. It's so, I mean, he really dumbs it down.
I'm definitely into. I think where we differ is I'm into a lot of bootleg stuff.
Yeah.
Some of it, only 5 or 10 are made. So I think that's where we differ.
Probably.
There's some stuff in my office that I'll if I see an artist is making something, I'll email and I'll be like, hey, can you make an extra one? I've had some luck doing that, so.
Yeah.
See, that's where we differ.
Yeah. So I mean, he's very modest with his collection. There's no question in my mind that it's more impressive than mine. So he thinks mine's impressive. I think his is impressive. It's kind of silly because we're just going back and forth. But so I came back home and I told my wife. I said, it's really strange. He and I hung out for like an hour, and I don't think we finished one conversation. We sat there and it reminded me a lot of myself, because I know that my wife tells me that living with me is like living with a stoner, because I'll put something down and I'll completely go off on a tangent and I'll forget where I put something. I'm like, what did I just do with that? And so I came back home after hanging out with you, and I remember it was like, I don't think we really finished any one conversation. We'd start talking about one thing, then we would get distracted. We'd talk about something else.
No, there's just too much to talk about in an hour. So hopefully next time we'll have some more time to chill out.
That's true.
You have a giant Godzilla to give me that you can
yeah. See, that was another thing that I had told people when I was going to Comic-Con, and I instantly got a bunch of people sending me messages. Can you pick up this? Can you get this for me? Can you do this? Blah 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 blah. And I told people, I said, I'm going there to work. I'm not going there to stand in lines and buy toys for things. I'm not all that impressed with any of the exclusives that are really there. I'm not doing anything. So I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden I get an email from Adam. And first of all, I could probably pull up the email. I think I talked about this like a few shows ago, actually. I said that first of all, he's a master manipulator. You learn some good stuff from your mother. I will give you credit for that. Where I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden you're very I should almost I'm gonna have to pull up the email, because I gotta make sure that I get this right.
I don't even remember writing this. I think I remember, I've been eyeing that. I read that they were doing a show Godzilla.
Right.
And I was actually planning on going, and I pulled the plug like a week and a half before, just because there's just so much work to do on the show.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't even remember what I wrote.
Oh, yeah.
I knew you were going, and
okay.
I used some Jewish guilt. I guilted for a little bit, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, you did good. Well, you play here. Here's the thing. You use two very strong emotions. This is how I know that you're a good writer, because you're able to do this. So I get this message, and it says, "This is the only thing I want this year. I will pay you back." He's like, "I will pay you back if you can get it. You will be my hero." So he plays on my emotions, right? Okay, so he builds me up. He builds me up to be his hero. And then he shows me the link. He says the booth, says where it is. And then he says, "I know there's no way, but it's worth asking." So he builds me up, and then he guilt trips me. And then I'm like, son of a... now I have to get this for this guy. I can't tell him no.
That was it really, now that you read it,
yeah,
that's a solid email. I'm not, I don't go on too long, I'm very succinct. That's a solid email request for sure.
Yeah,
I'm proud of that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, you played me like a violin, sir.
I just felt bad because I realized the reality of it was you walking around with a box that's basically like 4 feet tall.
Well, I don't think it's big. It's not that big, but I mean, luckily.
I just pictured you in the crowd being bumped, lugging for like hours this thing, and luckily you have your magic hookup, so you got to stash it somewhere.
Right.
Made me happy.
Yeah, so it was so I was adamant. I was not going to pick up anything for anybody, and then you guilt tripped me, and ended up getting stuck doing it. My wife here, I'm looking at the chat room where everybody is, and I have to apologize for not paying too much attention to everybody, but my wife is doing a good job of keeping everybody in line. And I'm apparently supposed to tell you from my wife that she thinks that you're very well adjusted despite the things that you've gone through as a child.
Correct.
So
yes, the initial title of this of the Goldberg was "How the Fuck Am I Normal?" That was the. Oh, am I allowed to curse on this? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't care. Go for it. Go for it.
How the F Am I Normal was that was the initial title of the show up until like a month before, we shot the pilot. It was still called that, and then the president of ABC changed it to the Goldbergs.
Wow.
So she's correct, and that comes from something that me and my siblings have said for a long time. We don't know how we're relatively adjusted human beings. Now, my wife would say I'm not normal whatsoever.
Of course not.
She lives with me and knows all my quirks. So yeah.
I think that's safe to say for anybody. I mean, I've known you for a little bit, and you've been with your wife since you were 16.
Correct. Yeah,
so
we've been together for a long time.
I mean, yeah. So obviously, she's going to know the stupid little things that that was another thing I remember having a conversation with you about. This is a hilarious story that we were sitting there, we were talking about toys, and it was, we were just talking about, I don't remember what it was that we were talking about, but you had mentioned previously that you got yelled at by your wife. She's like, come to bed, stop talking about toys. So that was one conversation. Then like the next day or a couple days later, we're talking again, and I was like, oh, it's getting late, I better let you go before your wife gets mad at you. And you're like, that you snuck off into the bathroom, and you were texting me while you were in the bathroom, and you said something along the lines of like, you feel like you're cheating on your wife because you're sneaking off to talk about toys with some guy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it did feel like that for sure.
It's definitely a weird sort of thing. So let's hope your wife never finds out about this and finds out that when you run off into the bathroom, you're talking about toys. And it's
my sad version of an affair.
That's
conversing with you about what toys I'm going to spend money on.
About toys. Speaking of toys, I gotta throw this at you again. That I was people that saw this. I did like a tour of my room, and people always ask me. They saw a masterpiece Star Saber in my room, and I point blank said, I have this because I bought this for a friend of mine for his birthday. I am not reviewing this. I don't know anything about Star Saber. I can't do a review on them because I don't know crap about this thing. But everybody saw it and expected me to do a review. But it was a birthday present for you. Here's the thing. When was your birthday, Adam?
April.
It was in April. What is this month now? This is what, July? July. And let me ask you this, sir. Has that box has the tape even been cut off of that box?
It is not. I haven't cut the tape or anything.
Of course not.
I've always, since I saw that Star Saber, I've always wanted it. And I don't know. I don't love opening like my masterpiece Transformers. Like I have thought. Sometimes if I want something, I'll get a loose one on eBay or something if I'm really joking for something in particular. I want to show it to my son or something, but I just don't want to open it.
But what do you do with it? You just leave it in the box and you just let it sit there, and you.
It's like the first thing you see when you walk in. I just love the artwork, and also I know that my son is going to come to my office and want it and take it and destroy it.
But
so
that is the biggest cop out. It's a cop out.
I'll tell you what. Here's what I will do.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on Monday. I will open it up, and I will tweet you pictures of that Transformer sitting in the writer's room.
Oh.
For you.
All right.
Potentially pitching jokes. Hopefully it'll pitch some jokes or help me with the story.
I think it'll be the brunt of jokes.
Yeah, a room full of comedy writers. They haven't been easy on my love of toys, and there's a lot of eye rolling that goes on every day when I get into some art. There's a couple writers on the show who share my love of the 80s, Transformers, G.I. Joe, I mean, all the classics, Thundercat Man, and we'll have, in my room, we don't talk sports at all. It's like that's what we talk about and argue about, and there's a lot of people that roll their eyes at us.
Well, now, in watching your show, again, it's I mentioned this to you when I first hung out with you, that it's kind of difficult for me to kind of separate you from the Adam that I see on TV. So there are some things that I feel like I know about you, but I don't know if that's done up for the sake of the show. Like, for example, you do not have a sister named Erica. You have a brother named Eric.
Correct.
So my question for you is, in one episode, I'm a big hockey guy. I played hockey since I was a kid. I love sports. I never really liked the Philadelphia Flyers. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, I know. But I have the ability to hold over your head that we beat you for the Stanley Cup. That's perfectly fine for me. But now my question is, there was an episode where you tried playing hockey before for your dad.
Yeah, that's a completely true story.
Is it really? But you don't like hockey.
Well, here's the thing. I was always just awful at sports.
Mm-hmm.
I much like the character of Adam, was graced with a lazy eye.
Okay.
So, and little fun fact: the actor Sean, by chance, also has the same lazy eye that I have, which is how weird is that? That's why he wears those glasses. He wears those glasses to make his eye unlazy.
Interesting.
I have the same thing. So my dad forced me to hockey to work on my hand-eye coordination and forced me to play for 6 years.
Wow.
And it really culminated with me scoring on my own goal. And then in the car ride home, he's like, "We don't have to do this anymore." And I was like, "Thank God." and I never really played again.
But your brother.
I did an improv class or something instead.
Oh, okay. But your brother Barry is a big sports guy.
He claims he got all the athletic genes in the family.
Interesting.
He was actually good. He would score, and he played he plays. He still plays to this day. And any sport, just like the character, he thinks he could have gone pro in any given sport had he actually applied himself. There's no doubt in his mind that he could have been a professional athlete.
Of course. Now, in seeing some of your mom's, your actual mom, for people that don't know, she's actually on Twitter as well, which lends itself to some hilarious things every now and then. But she has said that of all the characters on the show, that Barry on the show is the most accurate to his real life counterpart than anybody else.
True. I think so too. The reality is Adam, Sean is just such a sweet kid that initially in the pilot I tried to make him like I was, which was a little devilish punk who would stir up trouble and videotape everyone and try and get people to fight and argue. And Sean it didn't feel right. He just couldn't be me. So what I decided doing kind of early on in the show was I'll take out that aspect because it doesn't really work on Sean, and I'll just make it nostalgic coming-of-age stories about being a movie-obsessed geek who had, struggled through puberty and growing up, and that's what I'll do with this character. And once I made that decision, the character started really working, and that's why there's so many stories about Sean, because that's me. I have so many experiences, and obviously that I lived, and Sean played that really well. So that's how the character kind of is what it is now. Not initially what I intended, but Sean plays, earnest, geeky, passionate kid really well, and I love writing that kind of stuff.
And you can look at it, and you can see the difference. Honestly, I mean you really can in the actual video clips from your actual childhood that you put in. You can definitely see that there's a little bit more of a devilishness to you as opposed to Sean.
I mean, I would set up my video camera and then call in my dad and needle him and make him spaz out on me and then crack up that I got him yelling at me on tape. That was my greatest joy in life. And the truth is I have so much of the tape that I have, I haven't even shown yet, and it's the best stuff. It's Barry melting down, my mom screaming the F word at me, my dad yelling. I haven't really put it in yet, and I'm kind of holding off because it's such gold. But at this point, I don't even know that it feels like the show, because every episode ends with a hug now.
Sure.
They're very, there's still a lot of yelling, but I realized along the way that people are kind of seeing their own family in this family in the Goldberg. So I've definitely toned down on some of the craziness that exists in the tapes, just because I kind of stirred it up. I was the one that made it happen, and so I was a little pumped.
Here's now why is I mean maybe this is just my own selfishness, but in for example, I can't imagine you ever releasing these home videos in some kind of a collection kind of thing. But why, for example, you very graciously, and I've decided what I'm going to do with these. You signed a whole bunch of copies of Season 1 of the Goldbergs for me, which is very, very kind of you. I can't thank you enough. And what I decided I was going to do was when the new season starts back up, I'm going to do some giveaways to throw those out to people. Now, my question is, why would you not put some of those home videos as special features or something on a DVD season?
It's really the deal I worked out with my family, which is they didn't sign up. Look, none of us signed up to do the show. Initially they weren't the Goldbergs. That's why it's Erica and not Eric.
Okay.
They were the Silvers. When I shot the pilot, it was based on my family. It literally wasn't my family.
Sure.
Once it became the Goldbergs, and then my family was now you're basically really making us part of the show, which they were proud of me, and they were okay with doing it. But they're we just don't want you releasing clips online. And
gotcha.
If it's on the show and you put it at the end, it's totally cool. But we don't we don't want you to just release a bunch of our stuff out into the world.
Sure, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, like I said, it was just me kind of being selfish in the fact that watching some of those, it's hilarious. But I could totally understand that, because we as viewers kind of forget the fact that this is your family. So if you put a clip up there of an instance where your dad is yelling at you, and your dad, he's not with us anymore, but it could very potentially upset him. You know what I'm saying? Let's use your mom as an example. I can't believe you put that of me up there, Adam. Even though
they haven't also seen a lot of stuff ever that I have.
Oh, really?
Which has been interesting, but also the thing that's complicated about the show is, I have a brother named Barry, and he's a real person, and let's say there's a particularly embarrassing episode where he looks there was one thing where Barry didn't know that Hawaii was in America even, and he wanted to go to University of Hawaii, but he confused how they got to college on an island. So I'm like, yeah, but he complained to me. He's like, dude, I'm not that dumb. And I'm like, well, it's just a TV show. But then he said, yeah, but then at the end of the episode, you're like dedicated to my brother Barry, and you show footage of me. So it is me.
Yeah.
So it's very complicated. So I definitely have to protect my family and at the end of the day, like protect who they are as people,
sure,
and not sell them out for a joke.
I understand. That makes sense. Like I said, I think I'm just being selfish in the fact that I would love to see those things because I would probably get a kick out of it. But in looking at it from a real world perspective, I don't know your brother Barry. I don't know your mom. So I'm sitting there laughing at it from an outsider looking in, as opposed to, you know, he was probably not too thrilled that it was recorded in the first place. So I can totally see that. So yeah, like I said, from my perspective, I'm just being selfish because I think some of those would be hilarious. And there's a lot of people that are in the show, not just your family, but you utilize a lot of friends from your past that are also in there.
I even put in like footage of my gym teacher, and I mean, essentially, I would say 80% of the characters on the show are real at this point. So yes, it's everyone has been a really good sport. No one's gotten upset or angry yet. Something I did with their character. Everyone's been really cool about it.
Now, do you have to get their permit? I mean, I'm sure you would ask them, but do they? I mean, and I don't know. I mean, you might. I don't know. I mean, if you can't talk about something, just tell me to shut the hell up.
No, it's totally fine. Yeah, I have to get them to sign in a way that I can use their likeness.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Have you had anybody that was just like, no, Adam, I'm not doing it?
There's only one person that said no, and that was somebody from my high school class. It was a difficult kid.
Yeah.
And everybody in my class said yes, but this one person said no. And on the Facebook chain, everyone was cracking up and like, of course. Like nothing has changed.
They figure he would be the one, or they would be the person to be a pain in the butt. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, did you actually have a friend? I don't know if you. I'm doing the quotes here. I don't know if you can see me, but oh no, there's like a delay. So even if you were seeing me, you would see it like in 2 seconds or something. But was there actually were you actually friends with somebody named Dave Kim that you just called Dave Kim all the time? My wife asked me about that. They're like, why do they always just call him Dave Kim?
I don't know why. I think the one syllable first and last name, we just always said Dave Kim. And there was also a lot of Daves. Like there was Dave Sirota, and there was a lot of Daves in my class. So we kind of had to. So Dave Sirota was Dave Sirota, and Dave Kim was Dave Kim. But yeah, no, all of those people, Chad Kraft, Dave Kim, Gary Ball, Emmy Mursky, Coach Meller, Susan Cinnamon, the principal, Gary Ball's dad was the principal, Earl Ball. They're all real people. So you like with Dave Kim, when you were a kid, it was, hey Dave Kim, that was his name. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
We called him Dave Kim.
That's hilarious.
I happen to have some footage of him. So I, Facebooked him, and I said, hey, can I put you on the show? And he was like, yeah, great.
That's amazing. It really is. I mean, like I said, I mean, watching the show, because I grew up, and you're a little bit older than me, so like what you just turned 40 or something, right?
I'm 39.
You're 39. Okay, I turned 38 in November, so you're a hair older than me, but it's one of those things where watching, and I posted this on Instagram. It was the funniest thing. It was Sean arguing with your mom, or Beverly, and it was, this is a Transformer, this is a GoBot. Look at the obvious difference. And my question for you, I gotta ask this: why GoBots? I mean, I asked you about this before, and it just doesn't make any sense to me, because GoBots are so lame.
It's so interesting, look, I think it has to do with the fact that in my family growing up, it was about quantity, not quality. And
Sure.
like, if you went to a dinner, like we would pick the worst buffet in town over a fancy restaurant. Like it was about giant portions, and so I was always on a quest to get as many robots as I could, and I discovered that I could get 5 Transformers or 5 robots for 1 Transformer. So that's why I think I was always more partial to GoBots just because I could have twice as many. And then once I got older, I realized, well, like, I'd rather probably have a Dinobot than than Scooter.
Sure.
But so I kind of switched over. But I just, one of my earliest memories is being in the toy store as a kid, and they had just every GoBot in this glass case, out of the box, posed.
Right.
And just staring at this, and it's just one of my earliest memories. I think that's why I'm partial to GoBots. That's my collection that I'm most proud of. I have every one individually, individual case.
Yeah, and I've seen it with my own eyes, guys. He's got you walk in his office, and literally there are pieces in there. To give you an idea, he talks about, it's like, oh, I have what's the word? You didn't call them knockoffs. What'd you call them? Bootlegs, right? He's like, they're bootlegs. They're only one out of a couple. I walk in his office. One of the very first things that my eyes immediately gravitated towards was he has one of the rarest pairs of tennis shoes in the universe, that being the Back to the Future Air Mags. He's got the Air Mags sitting there, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, wonder if I can take this guy out and take his shoes. That's what I'm thinking.
What happens when guys like us get TV shows? Because what I did there was those were around $4,000. There's no way I'm going to spend that much money on a pair of shoes, even if they weren't one of my favorite movies. So
absolutely.
What I did at the time, I had a Fox show called Breaking In, and I wrote an episode about them.
This is how he cheats. This is how he gets 99% of his collection, guys. Listen to this story. Listen to the story. Go ahead, Adam. Go ahead. Tell everybody how you cheat.
One of the characters on that show was named Cash. He was basically me, the guy who wasn't making a ton of money and spending all his money on collectibles and figurines and toys. And these shoes come out, and he can't pay his rent. He's borrowing money from everyone. And they find out that he just spent $4,000 on these sneakers. And they have a intervention where they sit him down, and they're like, you have a problem. And he ends up going to a meeting, and I cast James Gunn way before he did Guardians of the Galaxy, who's up there talking about how he only, I think his line was, he only gets aroused when, he can only get aroused looking at this old Transformers movie, and he gets aroused at, the Pink Transformer, I think is what he said, or something like that. So James Gunn came in, did that. It was great. I got to be one of my heroes. So in that episode, I got the shoes that I wanted. The show had to buy them. The show
has to buy him this stuff.
The show had to buy it, and then I also got to see James Gunn, and I cast him as like the head of the geek support group. So that was a great episode. Well for me.
So
the show got canceled. So maybe that's fine.
But you still got the shoes. That's how I'm walking through his office, and I'm looking at all this amazing stuff, like one in millions, some of this stuff that he's got. And he's like,
one of the coolest things ever happened to me this week. So I'm working on, I'm obsessed with garbage dump kits. I have every single one, and I've been even collecting the new ones. There's a lot of like, kind of like, they'll take an old card and they'll do like a reprint in colors and stuff.
Yeah.
So I went down that rabbit hole, and I got to know some of the people over at Top and the artist Joseph Go, and they're doing a garbage dump documentary, which I came on to help them produce to get as a result, they made a garbage pail kid of, Atom Bomb, which is the first one.
Yeah.
Which was part of my obsession, was that my name happened to be like the iconic garbage pail kid.
Sure.
And so they made a garbage pail kid of me, of me sitting with a remote control and the Goldbergs are blasting out of my head. And that garbage pail kid was just released this week. But the weirdest thing was I also did an episode about Cabbage Patch Kids this year.
You did.
And Xavier Roberts made me a one-of-a-kind Cabbage Patch Kid, Leia DeLorean, which was the name of the Cabbage Patch on the show.
Oh,
and
God.
He sent me a one-of-a-kind Cabbage Patch the same day I got my garbage pail kit. So that was amazing. That was a huge deal.
See,
for me.
oh yeah, and I've shown this before because this is actually something that when you gave this to me, it was really very kind because this was not part of anything that I had signed up for. You have this little script that you wrote when you were like 8 years old or something,
yes.
of your Transformer movie, and you had it nicely framed, and you got all this fancy stuff on here, and you signed it. That my job is cooler than yours. Meanwhile, you're having Garbage Pail Kid cards made after you. You're having Cabbage Patch dolls made for you. I'm not having Hasbro knock on my door asking to make a Transformer out of me, sir.
Not yet.
Not yet. I can't even get them. I can't even get their PR department to reply to an email for me so that I can review or so I can interview them at San Diego Comic-Con. Give me a break.
That's amazing. That's unfortunate. We gotta fix that. Let's fix that.
Well, do something about that. You know people who know people. Go.
I know some of the movie people. They need to get you in there on their like Transformers roundtable they have now.
Oh God.
That's what you need to go work on. You need to help them steer all those movies.
See, and that's a perfect segue, Adam. So you're not a big fan of the movies. We've talked about this, and you're not a big fan of the movies. Honestly, be honest.
Let me correct you on that.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of the first one.
Okay.
I thought the first 2 acts of the first movie were pretty much genius. It felt like a Spielberg movie. The boy in his car. I thought Shia was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was endearing. That first time that Bumblebee transformed, I felt like a kid again as I was. It's a rare occurrence where you legitimately feel like a little kid again in the theater. So it was a very special movie to me. I went to the premiere. Then I think it kind of went off the rails after that.
Well, and again, I mean, we've talked about this before when we hung out, but you got to admit that the second one suffered because that happened when the writer's strike was going on.
Absolutely.
So you kind of have to just like wash that one off and not even use that. We're in the first one. Where did you think the wheels came off? You said the first couple acts were pretty good. When did the wheels come off for you?
For me, the third act, which was like the final battle, I just didn't know who was who. I couldn't. They just happened really I couldn't. I didn't know what was going on. It just seemed like a lot of metal was smashing and buildings were getting knocked down, and I couldn't really track which robot was which.
Gotcha.
And then I think they got better at that, and particularly in the last one, in Age of Extinction. I thought what I appreciated about that movie was they tried to make the Transformers have some character, which I appreciated. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the second one was so disjointed. And look, as a writer and as a lover of that franchise, I have my expectations.
Why did, I mean, as a lover of the franchise, why didn't you throw yourself out there and say, hey, I'll help with this?
I did a little bit of punch up on the first movie. I pitched some jokes to them, and that was I had read the script about a year before it was out. It definitely changed a lot. But the show has kept me so busy that all of that is impossible. I do hope to get a GoBots movie going. I've been working on it for about 4 years. So
Go on. See, I wasn't gonna say anything about it because I don't know what's allowed to be talked about, what's not allowed to be talked about. So
yeah, I've mentioned it. I know I've mentioned it before in various things, but they made an announcement this year that they're trying to get it going, and I'm definitely trying to help them. I seem to be the only person, the only writer who really knows the property.
yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm trying to do it as a comedy, which Transformers already exists. We don't need another one like
Right.
that. And frankly, I'm sure Paramount wouldn't even let me do that because they have that. They do that version. So it has to be very different, and my take on it would be more like Lego Movie, more of a comedy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you're looking at this would be like an animation.
I think that's one way to do it, yes. Yes, for sure.
I gotcha. I have a question. I just looked here. Somebody asks me, this is actually a pretty good question. But what do you think of the world compared now to back in the 80s? What do you see as being, and it's interesting because
Sure.
you mentioned, and I just found this out, that your friend, I forgot his name, Dave, starts with an S.
Sirota.
Yes,
Sirota.
thank you.
Yeah.
Just did a series on, and I don't actually know the name of it, but it was looking at the different decades, starting with the 80s and going up to the 2000s. My wife and I have been watching it, and it's amazing. And I use the analogy that looking at the 80s, that's like when we were kids. As a nation, that's like when we were kids. The 90s, we kind of became teenagers. And then in the years in the 20th or the 21st century with the year 2000 and such, it was basically like we were adults and everything sucked.
Right.
So what would you say your take?
Yeah, it's how I basically sold the show was my concept for the show and why I do 1980 something on the show is like, for me the 80s was the last time that the world was still small. There was the internet changed everything.
Yeah.
And there were no cell phones, there was no internet. Your computer took up half your desk. It was giant, you couldn't do anything. And really, all you had was your family.
Yeah.
They were like, now, kids are lucky. Like, if you feel like an outsider at school or at home, you can go online, you can find blogs, chat rooms, you can find people that have your interests.
Sure.
And you can make a family that doesn't exist in your town. We couldn't do that in the 80s. Our family was the people that were in our house bothering us, and you went to school and you had your friends. That was it. So that's my take. It's the way I imagine the 80s. It's like I like Spielberg, like E.T. That's my kind of ideal of the 80s. Kids riding around on bikes, racing bikes, going at you. I remember, not worrying about if you were out late, your parents weren't tracking you on their cell phones.
Yeah.
Just being out, being free, and like not having a care in the world. That's kind of my take on the 80s.
And I mean, there's a iconic 80s movie that really kind of wraps that up in a very simple way. And when you were talking about it, that's what my brain went to, was there's a scene in the Goonies right when they decide that they're going to go on their little adventure. All of them get on their bikes and they just ride off. And that's kind of what it was like. You just got on there and you went. And I mean, I remember growing up, and you went home when the streetlights came on. Nowadays, it's so weird that I look at everybody, and you mentioned it. Everybody's connected. Everybody is on their cell phones. Everybody's on the internet, and it's a weird thing. And you have kids yourself. I don't have kids, but let me ask you this: your kids are how old?
7 and 4.
7 and 4. Do they have tablets or iPhones?
They have iPads.
See, to me that's weird. To me, like, I don't think it would be different. I think it would be the same with me. But in my mind, I'm like, why would you give a kid that young an iPad? Give them some Legos. Give them a toy. To me, it's weird. And I'm not trying to pick on your parenting skills or anything like that.
No.
But I mean,
here's the thing. They have what they want more than anything is to sit and watch Netflix and have their choice of so many, Could you imagine if you were a kid and you could have a little tablet that had every 80s cartoon that we grew up on?
Oh, God.
On there, you could just watch it at will.
Yeah.
All you would want is to do that, and it is all what they want to do is be on that iPad and play Angry Birds or play Minecraft or watch something. We really have to treat it like it's the most special thing. If a consequence is like no iPad.
Right.
The only thing that means anything to them. Of course, I want to take them out back and play hockey with them, or I want to, do Lego. The Lego sets they have are so amazing. Star Wars Lego sets, and we do all that stuff. It's kind of like crack, so we just really have to be careful that you can be a lazy parent if you're tired or if it's early in the morning. You just throw them that iPad and you're good to go.
Yeah.
But we try not to do it too much.
That's one thing that I mean you use the term that I've actually used myself, and again, it's not a disparaging remark towards you, but in general, I see a lot of people nowadays being lazy parents, and that's one of I mean, because the question was difference between back in the '80s to now.
I might have had the laziest dad on the planet, so.
Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, comparatively, I feel like parents now are so much more involved, and so, like, the stuff I do with my kids, my dad would never do. He carried us from that chair. And maybe that was specific to my family, I don't know. But there was definitely a hands-off, like, I would just go over to my friend Chad's, and I would hear from my mom, like, all weekend. I was just over there hanging out, making movies, having fun. Like, now it's so scheduled, and we're going to do this game and that game. And so, yeah, I feel like parents are so much more helicoptering and so much more involved now, but that's just my opinion.
Well, so even more than what your mom is depicted on the show?
My mom, I mean,
because you said that she's toned down. On the show, you said that she's toned down.
Yeah. I love my mom. She's great.
Of course.
In real life, she's like a tough cookie, She would always storm down to school and demand excellence, and I think I definitely toned her down for the show to more of a Disney-fied version on the show, but yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. Again, it was like the 80s, so while she wanted me to get the lead in the school play, even though I didn't deserve it, or wanted me to have an A, even though I didn't get an A, like as much as there was that kind of thing, there was also like, oh, it's the weekend. Go over to your friend Chad, here's the video camera.
Oh.
That's how it was, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
Can I ask you a question?
You can, yeah, please, ask me questions.
Okay. Your top 3 favorite Generation 1 favorite Transformers.
Oh, my God. Top 3 favorite... Oh, well, it's actually not that hard. I don't know why I'm acting like it's a hard thing. Number 1 for me is Wheeljack.
Really? Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Well, it's, for me, growing up... See, we get to see your childhood. So, I mean, were you actually was one of your nicknames Gold Nerd?
Yes. Well, it was like that. Like people would. That was like a slight against me. It was like I would be teased by being called Gold Nerd.
Okay.
I was a nerd. I was in everyone's defense. I was a giant nerd.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
How could they not call me Gold Nerd?
Well, I mean, knowing you now, I mean, not much has changed, but it's more socially accepted to be a nerd nowadays than anything else. But so for me, I was a big techie when I was a kid. I loved computer. I would really say that I'm a lot like. Again, I don't know how I'm looking at Sean's portrayal of Adam as opposed to your actual one, because that's what I see as a child. I see myself a lot like him in that regard, where I liked computers. I liked robots. I mean, I was a nerd in school. You know, picked on, made fun of, everything, all that stuff. And Wheeljack was the smart guy. You know, he was the crazy scientist that I just immediately gravitated towards. I loved that. So that being said, if you look at any 80s franchise, cartoon-wise, you could almost, because they were all very similar, if you remember back, I mean, they all had very similar characters. I mean, you look at Transformers, you look at Thundercats, you look at Silverhawks, you look at Ninja Turtles. They all had like the heroic leader type. They always had a guy who had a temper. They always had a guy who was smart and sciencey. They always had a guy that kind of goofed off. Every cartoon kind of had that. It was the same recipe for success, I guess. You just put different things in there. So, you know, Ninja Turtles, it was Donatello was my favorite. Thundercats, it was I forgot his name. Panther? Panther.
Oh, not Snarf. Okay.
Yeah, not Snarf. Come on, Snarf, dude. Come on. So I mean, all of those shows had a Brainiac of sorts. So that's what I went with. So it's easy to kind of pick that out. But for Transformers, I would say Wheeljack. The next one would be again in that same kind of vein. I really like Shockwave. I mean, that's just kind of the way he was a bad guy version of Wheeljack.
By the way, like I agree, Shockwave was a great Transformer, great toy. I bought my Shockwave when I got a Shockwave when I was a kid. It broke in like a day. I felt like it was the cheapest thing, and I don't know why.
Wow.
Like because my Megatron was so sturdy and metal, like die-cast metal, and that Shockwave was so plasticky. And I'll always remember getting it, being so excited, and then I like put on the, you know, you had like his hands would be covered by the barrel.
Well, you know why that is, right?
No, tell me.
Because Shockwave was made by a different company. He was licensed by
Takara or something like that?
No, it wasn't Takara. I forgot the name of it. Somebody's gonna post it in the chat room, and I'll be able to tell you. But he was made by.
So
I mean, but that's.
I broke that barrel like the first time I put it on.
Well, if you're a fan, so you're a fan of Shockwave, then I take it.
I always thought Shockwave was badass. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, a little information for you. I have heard rumor from my various sources that one of the next Masterpiece figures that will come out will be Shockwave.
Of course, as it should be.
As it should be. Well, it's a tough one because it's that Radio Shack. That's it. Thank you. They posted in the it was actually licensed by Radio Shack.
I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was it was the weirdest thing. It was originally Shackwave. It was, I mean, that was the nickname, but it was gray. They licensed it and made a gray version of it initially, and then they licensed it out to Hasbro, and Hasbro made the purple one, and that's where we got Shockwave from. So the original one was was gray, which is kind of ugly. But
and I always loved that they had another gun. Like I always like that made me very excited, which is why I bought it. But toy wise, it was I remember being super bummed when I broke.
Interesting.
Anyway, okay, what's your number three?
Number three is a tough one. I don't want to be like everybody else and be like Optimus Prime. I mean that's, but I mean that's. Yeah, I mean, you kind of almost have to say Optimus Prime. I mean,
Optimus does not enter into my top three, but I mean, of course, Optimus should be in any top three.
You would think so.
I'm talking strict figures. Like mine were, without a doubt, number one was Fortress Maximus.
Wow.
Never had it. Always wanted it. My friend had it. Number two, Astro Train.
Astro Train.
Yeah, number two. I love the idea of like a space shuttle and a train and a robot. I thought it was genius. Number 3, Perceptor.
Perceptor.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I loved it, and I loved the figure. I loved that you could look through it. And I also loved the idea that there was actually a transformer that was a microscope. It's hilarious to me.
Well, that's so some nerdy history. No, that makes sense. There was in the original Takara, or not Takara, but before Transformers, there were Diaclone figures.
Yeah.
And there was a line called Microchange, which were, and I used the example that they were basically kid-size accessories. It would transform into a robot, and then it would transform into something that was like a kid accessory. So things like Perceptor, Megatron, Blaster, Reflector, things that transformed into things that actual little kids could kind of use. That was the Microchange line, and that's where Perceptor came from.
Yeah,
so
those were always my favorite Transformers. I loved Reflector. I had Reflector. The Reflector was such a janky toy.
It was.
It barely fit together.
Yeah.
I remember my friend had said, "Oh, this thing will really take photos." That's like the slide was completely let on, and then I got it. I'm like, "How am I filming?"
So you were pretty gullible as a kid then, in other words.
I was.
Okay.
I was.
All right. We're figuring it out. We're figuring it all out right now.
Yeah.
Interesting. Perceptor would probably be up there as well. I had a little bit of resentment towards Perceptor because he was kind of brought in to, in my mind, replace Wheeljack.
To replace Wheeljack.
And I didn't care for that all that much. Everybody talks about. I mean, and you made an episode about Optimus Prime dying and everybody's reaction to it. I was upset when Optimus Prime died, but I honestly was more upset about Wheeljack dying, and you just see his dead carcass laying on the side, and they don't say anything about him ever again. I'm just like, wait a minute.
It's so weird. It's so mishandled that, it's bizarre. Like, they just their ship gets just raided, and one bullet and they explode.
And everybody dies. It was so depressing. I mean, in that movie, I almost said episode, but in that movie, the Decepticons break into the Autobots ship, and with one shot, kill Brawn and Prowl, and I'm like, wait a minute, why are they all dying? There's one shot. I saw them get shot hundreds of times through the cartoon, and they didn't die.
For sure.
Made no sense to me. Made no sense. But now, again, so history-wise, Mr. Goldberg, you know why that all took place, right?
I assume to make room for great Transformers like Blur Cup and Hot Rod.
Absolutely. It was, and everybody asks me that they're like, one of the questions is, why are there no other combiners in the movies or anything like that? And the simple answer is that, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but the movie was actually being produced while the first season of Transformers was on TV.
No, I didn't realize it was that early.
Yeah. Wow. So they're working on the movie. Meanwhile, the entire first season of Transformers, the only combiner that you had was Devastator. That's why Devastator is the only one in the movie. And yeah, they were killing them all off because they're a toy company. They wanted to make a new commercial for toys, and that's basically why they decided to kill everybody so that they could usher in new movies. And so everybody wants to blame Michael Bay for killing everybody's childhood. I think it was Hasbro that did it. It was Hasbro that killed people's childhoods.
I think you put it the best. At the end of the day, we live in a world where they make big budget Transformer movies, and that's a good thing. And I agree, it's a good thing. But I look at what J.J. did with the Star Trek movie. You look at what Marvel is doing with all their movies. These are quality, well thought out, movies with great characters.
Yeah.
And I just want the same for the Transformers. I'm so excited for the new Star Wars movie. It just I feel like Transformers deserves to rival the first Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy, or it's a great property.
Yeah.
And I just want it to be. I would love for a different director to come in. I feel like Michael Bay has done all that he could with that franchise. We get his version. I would just love for someone else to come in and really mix it up. You know, it would just be great.
But now, I mean, you being a TV and a movie guy, can you honestly imagine the studio saying, you know what, Michael Bay, you've made us billions of dollars.
Right.
Let's go with somebody else.
Of course.
You know, that's unfortunately the way that it seems to work.
Here's what's happening, and I don't know. I assume you know this, but so I really know this through my agent. My agent happens to represent Michael Bay and Hasbro.
Oh, did not know that.
It's how that's not what I'm. That's what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is, like, the thing you might not know is they are trying to build out a Transformers film cinematic universe.
Yes, I have heard that.
Like Marvel did.
I've heard that.
There is a world. The plan will be, you know, the table right now. They have about 7 writers, like what I have, a writers room, where they're watching every cartoon. They're having Hasbro come in and say, here are the toys. They're literally big writers are immersing themselves in the universe for a year. It's all they're doing every day.
Good.
And they're looking at Beast Wars. They're looking at everything. And there's going to be a Transformers movie every year, potentially. And so Michael Bay can't do every one.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a world where there's different kinds of Transformers movies coming out in the next decade, which I'm very excited about.
That could be very good. Yeah. I mean, I had heard that they had talked about that they want to build, you know, like a cinematic universe for Transformers. It's such a weird thing. I mean, and you and I have talked about it, that as much as people hate Michael Bay, he's at least made Transformers relevant again. Kids nowadays, they look at my car and that's Bumblebee for them. He's a Volkswagen Beetle. So is that a bad thing? I really can't say that it is a bad thing. I'm not saying that the movies are great, you know, cinematic wonders or anything, but it's made the property relevant again, and for that I'm very grateful. But
I'm grateful for that too. I just wish that there was more care, and more care and thought.
Yeah.
Into the movies that were made, because what they did, like, if you look at what Marvel's done, it's a intricate web. Every movie related to the next, you know, every movie fits into the next one.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely genius. They're so off the rail. Like, that second movie was it was just about spectacle, and there was no, I feel like there was no thought given into what's the grand scheme of what's our like 6-movie plan here. Like, I just feel Michael Bay just wanted to, like, throw it all in and, like, kick the can down the road and we'll figure out everything later. It's kind of like, at this point, I don't know what else there is to say. It's like we're in a world where, like, everyone knows Transformers exist. They destroyed Chicago. They're you know, like, what else is there to say?
No, absolutely.
Like, you know, the Marvel movies, they've been really smart about it, and I wish, and I guess they're trying to, that's what this room is about. This room is about building out a universe, but my thing is, like, why now? Why after 4 movies are you doing this? After that first movie, which, at the end of that movie, no one knew Transformers existed still.
Right.
Why didn't you sit down and build out the universe then? Like, why are you doing it now? Is it too late? I don't know. So, anyway.
Well, if you had to attach somebody to do the next installment for Transformers, who would you want to see do it? You mentioned JJ with what he's doing with Star Wars,
no, I wouldn't want JJ. I love the JJ for the Star Wars. I would love it. I would love Edgar Wright to do. Like, I would love to see what that would look like. Guillermo del Toro, I feel like, would bring something really cool and interesting. There's just some great directors out there.
Yeah.
Who I think could, you know, do a really cool interesting movie. But
Well, are you saying Guillermo because of what he did with Pacific Rim?
yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I gotcha. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Well, one of my favorite movies of the last decade.
You know, well, I can see that because you're such a big giant, like Godzilla kind of person, and for me, Pacific Rim was nothing but a Godzilla movie. So I mean, it's hard for me to. People are saying that I should do the next Transformer movie. I don't want to do the next. I don't want to. I would never. I honestly, if they came up to me and said, "Paul, we want you to," I would tell them no, because I don't want that pressure of having to. And that's one thing that I look at, that the fanboys, and you know, looking at Michael Bay, I say this, that he made somebody like my mother, who does not know crap about Transformers, he made a movie that she could understand and she could follow.
Right.
So that's perfectly fine. I tell people all the time, if you want to make a movie that fans are gonna like, you're gonna end up. I don't know what your opinion is on this, but you're gonna end up with a movie like Superman Returns, where a lot of fans really like it because it's a nice homage to the Dick Donner movies, and everybody else kind of thinks that they suck.
I would argue that everybody thought that movie sucks.
I liked the movie.
The opening credits were amazing, but just because they were the Donner opening credits.
Oh God!
It had some interesting stuff in it.
Yeah.
I liked that it was a continuation of the Donner story. I just felt like overall it just lacked magic.
Sure,
any kind of heart or soul or magic, but yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, look, Michael Bay isn't making a Transformers movie. He doesn't know what the Transformers are. They asked him, "Are you going to have all G1 like Transformers in your movie?" And he didn't even know what it meant.
Yeah. Well, I remember in 2011, I went to BotCon in 2011. It was in Pasadena, and they inducted Michael Bay into the Transformer Hall of Fame, and I remember he was there. We saw like the first scene, or the first opening sequence of Dark of the Moon. There, they showed it to us before anybody else, and he was there. And he got up there and he straight up said, he's like, "When I first started this, I didn't know crap about Transformers." He's like, "I didn't even know if I even liked Transformers. But now I really like Transformers." Blah blah blah. So he goes off on this spiel, and I'm like, whatever. But I would just feel so much pressure to do the movies the way that everybody would, like all the fans would want the movies to be, that I would probably get a lot more gray hairs a whole lot quicker.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I got gray hair.
No, but don't give me that.
I mean, yeah, it's a ton of pressure. Just look, Michael Bay is making a Michael Bay movie. There's no difference between The Rock, which I want to make this great movie.
I love The Rock, yeah.
And like a Transformers movie. Like, they're shot the same, the music is the same, it looks the same, the characters are similar.
Right.
He's making a Michael Bay movie. I wish there was someone like JJ. I feel like we haven't seen it yet, but I feel like he's making a Star Wars movie.
Well, what do you think about that? I mean, somebody asked me, they want to know, like, talking about Star Wars, what are your 3 top Star Wars characters?
That's a great question. I think I'm going to be a snob about it and say, well, okay, characters or features? There's a diff, that's the question.
Well, let's go characters.
I think number one, obviously everyone would say Han Solo. A smuggler, a rogue. Sure. A badass.
Sure.
Number two, I was always obsessed with Vin Fortuna.
Really?
I just like the look of him. I loved all the Jabba Khan stuff. So he was always a character. Like, I had a figure, and I was always kind of obsessed with that that character.
That's an interesting.
Number three, I'm gonna say IG-88. I love the idea that there was a droid bounty hunter.
Yeah.
He looked badass. You know that I could like F you up if you faced them.
Right.
So yeah, those are probably my three favorites.
Interesting.
Favorites, yeah.
Now, I mean, I've known you for a little bit now, and people may not know this, but I mean, you are probably the biggest Star Wars freak that I know, and you gotta clue me in on this, because I never saw any of the movies, the original trilogy. I never saw any of them until I was much older, but looking at the hype for Episode 7, is it me, or does it seem like there's more hype for this movie than any of the other prequels? I mean, you could look at, say, Phantom Menace and be like, that one had some hype because it was such a long time between Star Wars movies. But this almost seems like, and I was at Comic-Con, so it almost seems like there's more hype for Episode 7 than anything else that we got previously.
I totally agree.
What do you think? What do you attribute that to?
Because there's a trailer that has Han Solo in it, Chewbacca.
You think that's it? That's it? That's what everybody's excited about?
We're getting a Star Wars movie again. I mean, yes, there was excitement for Phantom Menace, but you watched it and it didn't feel like Star Wars. It felt like something else entirely different, done by a different person. It was a kind of like a crowning. It was like an achievement in visual effects, but it just didn't feel like Star Wars. And I really have a big problem with Episodes 1 and 2. Just as a writer, as a storyteller, I just feel like it was such a huge missed opportunity. I've seen the movies a lot.
Yeah.
Just because as a fan, it's happened. But
sure.
This movie, we're promised an actual Star Wars movie by, there's no bigger fan than JJ.
Yeah.
So it's made by one of us.
Yeah.
He's a master storyteller. Look, Star Trek was talk about a dead franchise. They were making the movie anymore.
Absolutely.
What he did was genius. So there's just such high expectations that everyone is so hungry to feel Star Wars again. That I think that's what it's about. It's that we see the potential that we could actually watch a Star Wars movie and watch characters that you care about.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And even in those trailers, there's so much you could just tell. There's characters and there's tension, and it's going to be scary, and there's going to have emotion in it. It's not going to be this weird cold, impersonal, long shot political drama. It's going to be a Star Wars movie.
Now,
that's exciting.
Now, when I posted this on Facebook, you saw this. They had a huge thing at Comic-Con where after the panel, they took everybody out and they had the San Diego Symphony Orchestra do a concert for them, and they had all these fireworks and everything. And I was there talking with a buddy of mine at the Sideshow Collectibles after party, and it was mentioned here in the chat room. I just saw my friend Brad bring this up. Me and my buddy at Comic-Con were talking about this, that we both agreed that this movie, Star Wars Episode 7, will probably hit, within the first 2 months, will probably hit $2 billion. Do you think that's possible?
$2 billion?
$2 billion. Well, think about it, Adam. Jurassic Park in one month did $1 billion. Jurassic World. Right. Star Wars is an infinitely more beloved franchise than the Jurassic.
But $2 billion, look, that would be crazy. I mean,
it would be.
It's I don't. $2 billion seems like maybe there's a world. I don't know. It just seems like.
Well, I mean,
if
say 3 months ago, if I said that Jurassic World in the first month would make $1 billion, would you have told me that I'm nuts?
I would have told you that it was highly unlikely, but look, that $1 billion number for a huge franchise is what they hit. It's what Avenger hit. It's what Avatar hit. Like, but they don't go.
Yeah, but Jurassic World did it in a month.
Yeah, but where is it now? That's the question.
Well,
that's the question. Is it close to $2 billion? Like, I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But
I just gotta think that Episode 7 would have so much hype that in the first month, I gotta imagine that they're gonna hit $1 billion.
Without a doubt.
It just seems like something that's gonna happen. But after that, it just seems like that. And afterwards, I don't really think there's much else big movie wise coming out. Well, that comes out around Christmas time, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah.
So there's nothing else that's going to be really around there. So
I mean, I'm sure Marvel's going to have a movie around there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Civil War. I don't know when that comes out. I know they've been shooting it.
Yeah, I think that's I don't know. Actually, I don't know when Civil War. Somebody in the chat room posts when Civil War comes out. They're going to let us know here in a second.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just see so much, extra people going to see it. I don't know.
Right. No, everyone's going to go see it for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be, look, that is if it's good. Like, people are going to want to not like it, I feel, because it's such huge expectations.
Yeah.
I just know in my heart that they're not going to mess with that movie.
May 1st is when Civil War comes out.
Very excited for that movie.
That actually, that one might be it's like Avengers 3. That one might be the biggest Marvel movie that I'm really the most excited about.
Yeah, I just watched Ant-Man today.
I have not. My wife won't let me go see it until Monday. She said
it's great.
See, everybody says that. I've heard mixed things. I've heard some people say. I mean, most people say that's a pretty good movie, but some people are like, it's about average for a Marvel movie.
Yeah, I would. I liked it better than the new Avengers movie. I would kind of liken it to, it's not. It's a small movie. It's like a heist movie. It's different. That's what I liked about it. I mean, I don't know that the character is like absurd.
Yeah.
It's a guy that can shrink the size of an ant and talk with insects. So, putting Paul Rudd in it, there was a lot of comedy, a lot of humor. It just felt light. It felt fun. There was heart in it, though. And look, it's everything Marvel's doing. They're like, at this point, it's this formula that works so well, and it's exciting. I mean, think about it. Like 10 years ago, there was no such thing as a Marvel movie. It's insane.
Well, I was amazed. 10 years ago is when we got the first Christopher Nolan Batman movie.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing that that was 10 years ago now? Yeah. I mean, that just blows my mind that time flies like that.
I know.
It's incredible. Yeah. But, I mean, you're right. I mean, there's a recipe that Marvel seems to have, but I guess my biggest concern is people are going to get sick of it eventually. That's my biggest concern.
Maybe. Like, it's definitely a concern, but I think as long as they keep up what they're doing, which is, I think mixing action and comedy and heart, like, you can't go wrong. And it's why the DC movies struggle so much, because they're just dark. For Nolan, like, he's, there's nobody better, so he made it work. And, but then you look at, the Superman movies, and I don't know, I just feel like...
What did you think? What did you think of Man of Steel?
I thought it was better than the Snyder one.
That's good. Yeah.
I thought it was okay. It was okay.
See, my biggest problem, and everybody says that when I first told people that I wasn't the biggest fan of it, they're like, oh, you just didn't like him killing Zod. I'm like, no, that honestly didn't bother me. I read the comic books. I knew that back in the day that Superman had killed General Zod. That's why Superman vowed he would never kill again, because he felt so bad killing somebody. He vowed he would never do it. My biggest concern was and maybe it was just because I'm so spoiled by the Boy Scout image of Superman. I couldn't get past the fact that he just had this huge open fight in the middle of Metropolis. And I'm like, Superman would never have risked all those lives to take down Zod and all these other people. He wouldn't have had a fight. In my mind, he would have thrown him somewhere else. He would have done something else to keep him away from that city. That's the part that didn't sit well with me.
Right.
And
it didn't sit well with a lot of people.
Yeah,
so,
it bothered me so much. I'm like, this is not Superman.
There seems to be maybe some master plan to it, though. Ultimately, it seems like
have you seen the trailer for the Superman Batman movie?
Yeah, it seems like that movie might be about that fight. So maybe that they did it and we just didn't realize it. That's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'll say about the Superman movie. That trailer was like I thought like the best trailer that I'd seen. Like when I saw that trailer, I was so impressed.
The Superman Batman trailer?
No, the Man of Steel trailer.
Oh, the original Man of Steel one. Okay.
It was just so fantastic. It looked shot so well, so I think I had expectations going in that the movie just didn't meet. But I think I'm excited about Batman vs Superman. That should be a fun movie.
I'm pretty excited about it. My biggest concern, and in watching the trailer, a lot of people were very anti Ben Affleck as Batman, and the opening 30 seconds of that new Batman Superman trailer, where it shows him as Bruce Wayne running.
I bought it.
What's that?
I totally bought it.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was gonna say. Watching him as Bruce Wayne running into the collapsing building or the debris while everybody else is running away, I'm like, I'm in. That's what Bruce Wayne would do. That's what Batman. I mean, it was perfect for me. But I'm just so worried.
Like, no one wanted Heath Ledger to be the Joker.
I remember the same argument. People argued that they didn't want Michael Keaton being Batman. I mean, that's Mr. Mom. I mean, I remember those arguments. So, yeah, absolutely. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, that without question. I'm so worried seeing the cast that they have in this, that they're turning this into another Spider-Man 3 movie with way too many characters, way too many plot lines, too much confusion, too much stuff going on at once.
Yeah, it's what I liked about the Ant-Man movie. It was so simple.
Yeah.
It's what I love about the first Iron Man movie. By the way, like I don't think people know this, but in the first Iron Man movie, they had a bad guy that they just completely cut out of the movie and made it Jeff Bridges, like last minute, like they restructured the whole movie.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they I think those movies work. There's nothing better than when Batman versus the Joker in the second Batman movie. So when they keep it small, it works.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern. I mean, they're trying to set up this whole thing for the Justice League. So you got Wonder Woman, you got Aquaman. Apparently, I mean, Doomsday's in this movie. You got Lex Luthor in this. It's nuts. I'm just so worried that they're going to turn this into a Spider-Man 3. That it's. And from what I gathered, I forgot the dude's name. The dude who did the original Spider-Man movies.
Sam Raimi.
Yeah, thank you. See, you would know this stuff better than me. From what I've heard, he didn't want to have that whole stuff with Venom and everything, the original Spider-Man 3 movie. That was something that the studio basically made him put in, and he didn't want to do any of that. So the movie could have been so much better had they just let Raimi do what he wanted to do.
For sure. If they had an agenda, they wanted to do a Venom spin-off.
Sure.
They totally forced him to make a completely confused piece of garbage.
Yeah.
And there's nobody better than that guy. So.
Why aren't you doing big movies like this, Adam? Why? I mean, you're a nerd. You get us. You know. I mean, I don't mean that negatively, but you get what fans want for things. Why aren't you going out there and doing these kind of things yourself?
It's just time. I just, you know,
I mean, you got the show, so yeah, you're busy.
I got the show, and I don't think people, like, that's why I'm very impressed with Shonda Rhimes, who has, like, 9 different shows on the air. I have to do 22 episodes, and then they moved my order to 24, like they did last year, or this year, 25, and an extra week.
Oh, wow.
And I want the episodes to be good. You know, I pour my heart and soul into every one, and it just doesn't leave a lot of time to like, you know, when you get into a Marvel movie, that's your life.
Yeah.
And, you know, what I decided was, like, what else do I want than doing the Goldbergs? Like, it's what I'm meant to do. So right now, I'm just going to focus on this. Not split my time and not let the show suffer. If, you know, I could have gone out and pursued Goonies 2 hardcore, and who knows? Maybe I could have gotten it. They know that movie is, you know, just my favorite movie. And
Goonies 2?
Yeah, it's an action movie that they've been working on for like 2 years now.
What?
And, yeah, they really want it to happen. And I was definitely approached about it, but, you know, you just have to turn down these opportunities, you know, because it's really right now about getting to 100 episodes of Goldbergs and not and just keeping my foot on the gas and just making every episode great.
Well, and you got to imagine that having a successful show, because you do have, I mean, regardless of what the Emmys say, you do have a successful show. So you got to imagine that because of the success of this show, it's going to open up more opportunities to do other things that you may want to do down the line.
Right.
You know, and give you that kind of creative control to basically pick and choose what you may want to do. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, you would have to imagine that having a successful show like this just opens up more opportunities for doors. So, I mean,
yeah, I mean, you know, I'm already in season 3. These shows don't, you know, last generally past season 7. So, you know, in a couple of years, I'll probably get back into the business, and hopefully there'll be some opportunities. Like this summer, Marvel got in touch with me, and they said, "Do you want to write a book for one of your favorite kind of properties?" And I started talking to them about doing damage control. I don't know how familiar you are with Marvel stuff, but
nah.
So like there's like yeah, those opportunities are happening right now, which is really exciting. I'm really happy that I'm working in the business. So I'm very grateful for that. So like I'll see in a couple of years. The only thing I can imagine taking right now is the Goma. If that got off the ground, I would have to figure out a way to make it work. Just because that's my dream.
Well, in the business that you're, I mean, it's. I'll use the analogy of, say, Melt in the Middle. The original people that were responsible for the first 3-4 seasons of that, they weren't still involved towards the end, were they?
They were.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that normal?
You know, look, that show comes up a lot. My producer brings that show up a lot because it started out pretty grounded, and it got like to be a cartoon by the end. But that's just because the kids grew up and they ran out of stuff to do. But it was the game season, and it was the same guy was the showrunner every single season, and the same writer.
Well, now, so I mean, your kids and your show are eventually going to grow up.
Well,
so, I mean, you can only do stuff for so long.
Trey and Haley are both 21, so
yeah.
they're grown. And Sean, I don't know what he's going to look like this year. He's definitely, his voice changed this summer, I'm told. He's grown a couple inches. But, you know, I'm doing stories about puberty this year. And so it hopefully will work. As he's going through it, so will the character.
That's perfect.
But yeah, look, the kids get old. And grow up, and you know their family shows. They have a shelf life, so
now
you gotta make.
the cliffhanger that you left us with at the end of season 2 is the love of Adam's life is moving away.
Yeah.
Now, what is this something that now? First of all, was this? And I forgot her name. It's gonna, but
the character's name is Dana.
Dana, thank you.
I just knew that I wasn't going to be able. She was going to be moving on. She got cast in Gotham.
Oh.
And she just wasn't going to be available to me. So
So you killed her off.
She's on the show here. A couple episodes. It's just not. It's not what it was. And I also, look, I wanted Adam to be single so he could get shot down by girls and experience a lot of pain. And I thought it would be fun to have him struggle his way and try and find somebody.
So now, with that, was there ever a real Dana in your life?
She was one of my first girlfriends. I made her mixtapes, which I played on the show.
Sure, yeah.
And she's also on Twitter.
She is. Didn't she post the picture of the actual tape?
She did. She found the tape and sent it to me, which inspired the episode. I hoped to do that episode until she sent me the tape, and then we realized, we had to do something with it. So
wow.
We did a mixtape episode. And like I said, I met my wife when I was 16, and she will eventually be 13. So we'll see how that plays out as well.
Well, that was going to lead into my next one. Are you going to introduce your future wife in the show?
I would love to.
But she's probably going to tell you to get lost.
Probably.
Okay, I mean you could change her name or something.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting.
Okay.
You're gonna get in trouble.
It is not just luck. I was having so much fun. I lost track of time.
I've been trying. I've been slowly winding things down because I've been watching the clock, and you said you probably could do an hour, maybe a little bit more, and I've been trying to. Yeah, this is what happened.
Got a taste of what happens when you sat in my office.
This is true.
We'll babble on about nothing.
This is really true. So I mean, if people are curious what it's like, this is basically it. This was us just kind of rambling. And wait, hey, ask Adam for what voiceover? What would he? I can't even. Somebody's asking me a question. I can't even translate it. I don't even know if they're speaking English. So I'm not going to ask you the question. Oh, well, this is, I would never do, somebody asked me, see, here's the thing, my wife made it very clear to me, I'm like, I'm talking to Adam Goldberg, and she's like, well, you need to determine whether or not you want to be, friendly with him, or if you want to use him in some kind of capacity to help you with your job. And she's like, you need to decide what you want to do. And I made a decision. I was like, you know what? I don't want to do business kind of stuff with Adam. He's a cool guy that I just like talking nerdy stuff with. So somebody asked me, and they said that Paul as a guest cast in Meet the Go. I don't want to ever ask Adam for anything. That's the thing. I don't want to see. I've already told him. I should not lie. I cannot tell a lie. I did tell him that the whole John Fox thing, he needs to have some kind of a dedication to me in the episode. I did say that. But the people that are asking that kind of, it's one of those things where I don't want to ever ask. I felt awkward. I don't know if you remember this, Adam, but I asked you about doing autograph DVDs. I offered to buy the DVDs and have them signed. And he was very kind. He's like, well, I'll get the store down here to get me some. I felt bad just having you do that. Because I don't, it's I mean,
because you're a nice guy.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want to exploit the relationship that you and I have. So so I don't want to do any stuff like that.
You don't need to.
And I'm a terrible actor anyhow. I mean, if you sat me on the show, just have me sit in the seat, I would probably look stupid. We're not gonna have you say anything, Paul. Just sit there. Okay. I probably look like a moron just sitting there.
Anytime you want, you can come and sit in the background.
There you go.
There's an open offer anytime you want.
There we go. The offer is there. I can just, you know, if you ever had, here's my pitch for you. All right. This is me just kind of bullshitting. But here's my pitch. If you had Adam go into a comic book store, I could be like The Simpsons. I could be the fat comic book guy that hangs out in the store. There's my thing.
Done.
I'm the fat comic book guy. That could be my name. In the credits, fat comic guy. Optibotimus. There it is. But Adam, thank you so much. I'm gonna let you go. You spent the past 2 hours entertaining me. I don't know if anybody else was entertained. I know I was entertained. So
I entertained some people. I had a great time.
Probably not.
I'll do it again.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again. As soon as I figure out what I can talk to you about, I'll figure it out.
Awesome, man.
All right, Adam. Thank you very much. Say hi to your family for me. Tell them I appreciate you.
Say hello to the wife.
Hi, wife. Nothing.
Nothing.
That's it. She's like, this guy's a dork. Leave him alone. All right, Adam. Go spend time with your family. I'll talk to you later, dude.
All right, bye.
All right, bye. There it is. There it is. Adam Goldberg, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys actually enjoyed that. That was the comic book. I was going to call myself the fat comic book guy. So that would be my, but it's open camera. I can see now, Paul. Stop looking at the camera, Paul. There it is. The open invitation for me just to go there and sit in the back of an episode of the Goldbergs. I'll just sit there and be like this. That would be me. So again, guys, if you would, if you're on Twitter, go over to it's at Adam F. Goldberg. Thank him for me. I'm an absolute nerd. Hi, Kevin. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize for not being more interactive with you guys. I hope you guys over on YouTube enjoyed the show as well. I know I didn't get to talk too much. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's basically how he and I are. We just sit there and kind of go around and have a good time. So remember, Paul, it's no TV. It's TV. I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to keep my clothes on. No one wants to see that. It was really fun talking to him, and we got to. I tried to interview him. I don't think I did very good. I'm not very good at interviewing. But sitting there talking, having a good time was that was him. So I'm gonna cut the show a little bit short tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got some questions possibly answered, and maybe if you never heard of the show before, it's called The Gold on ABC. I don't know what time it's actually on, but check local listings and things like that. Watch the show. Head on over to Twitter and send him. Don't get too cranky. And send him a message. It's at Adam F. Goldberg on Twitter. Send him a message. Let him know that you enjoyed the show, and send him appreciation. Because it was very nice of him to take 2 hours out of his day, or his evening, to spend that with us. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a great time. I hope you guys did as well. I will talk to everybody later. Good night, and I will talk to you next week, right? Yeah, next week. Yay!